We're back out here once again, and today we're talking about those tips and tricks that I use to keep getting those bites when the fishing gets really, really tough. Stick around, you don't want to miss this one.
Seriously, there we go, I got one. All right.
And here is this video's featured comment. Congratulations! If you would like to have a chance to have your comment featured in an upcoming video, all you've got to do is leave a comment. And now, on with the video. Welcome back to Lowbrow Fishing, and it's Labor Day weekend. And we all know that means there's going to be a huge amount of people out at the lake. They're going to be swimming, they're going to be picnicking, they're going to have their boats and jet skis in the water, and some of them will even be fishing. And that got me to thinking, when the times get really tough, a lot of us don't even feel like, going out on the water and trying fishing at all. But sometimes that's the only opportunity you have. You have to fish the water you're given, and you have to fish the opportunity you're given. You don't get to pick and choose. So what do? What can we do to still keep getting those bites whenever those conditions are super, super tough? Not just hot, not just pressured, but let's say the lake levels are low, or the water's a little bit stagnant, or those fish just aren't in a biting mood for whatever reason. What can we do to put ourselves on fish and keep those bites coming? Get those bites, any bites. Well, that's kind of what we're going to talk about today, because I went out to the big lake and I knew it was going to be packed out there, but the boat didn't work right. The trolling motor kind of burnt out on me. I'm going to have to get a part replaced for that. So I was not able to fish how I wanted to fish. That's fine. I loaded up and I actually went to the little lake. I said, okay, this is a good opportunity to do a little bit of bank fishing, see what's going on at the little lake, and because I hadn't been there for a while, and see what's going on. Well, to my shock and my surprise, I had never seen the water level so low at the little lake. And you can see here by the video that I shot, it is lower now than it ever was during drawdown. And yes, they do draw down that little lake, but it was so low, I was shocked at how little water was in that lake. And yet there were still crowds of people out there trying to fish. There were so many people when I got out there that even I contemplated, you know what, maybe I need to go ahead and try to work something else out and come back another day. But then I said, no, I can do this. I've got the baits. I know I can eke out a few bites. Might be dinks, might be tanks, but a fish is a fish at this point. So I tied on a few lures and I went to work. And I surprised myself because I ended up catching some nice fish. And what did I use? Well, first and foremost, this is what I had tied on.
He wanted to be in the shade. Can you blame him? Seriously, there we go, I got one. All right. There we go, I got one. It was one of those cruisers. He got it real good. That's a good little fish right there. All right, let's go ahead and get him unhooked. On the old little jerkbait, we got this little bass right here. Nice little bass. Appreciate it. He's probably about 1.25 pounds. Good little fish, good little fish. Let's go ahead and release him out into the water. Appreciate it, little dude. Oop, and there he went. Wow, he shot off. Left a dirt trail. All right.
Now, you guys know that I'm on a huge jerkbait kick right now, so it would make sense that I continue that trend. But I downsized it. I went with something a little old school, a little different. This is a cotton cordell jerk minnow. This is just the regular thing that you buy at Walmart. They're like $3 or something like that. And this is what I tied on today, if I can get it off of there. Just a regular, standard cotton cordell bluegill pattern. And I'm telling you what, this thing caught fish. It wasn't shiny, it wasn't flashy, and we had a little bit of overcast conditions today, but I still decided to go with the regular pattern today because it was crowded out there. Those fish had been pressured. I decided maybe a more subdued approach might be the best way to go. And like I said, I surprised myself. Tied this on, went to work, and before long, I was catching fish. Okay, well, that's one way. We all know that I'm on a jerkbait kick. We all know I use it regularly and it's an effective presentation. So it makes sense to downsize it. But what is something else? What is another thing that I use whenever that bite gets really tough? Well, if we've got a little bit more windy conditions and something that's a little bit more overcast, even if it's crowded, even if it's pressured, I'll have this tied on. This is just your regular $5 Z-Man chatterbait, right? This is just the regular one. This is nothing special. And for a trailer, I've got just a little cheap cream jerkbait, just a cream soft jerkbait. And I like those cream soft jerkbaits for trailers because you can see they're kind of stiff. They don't really have a lot of flop to them. And that actually, it hardens the bait up or has some sort of an effect to it where I get a really nice hunting action that I like, but at the same time, it's not all over the place and just looking like a spastic moth under the water. This kind of tempers that just a little bit, and it resembles a minnow fluttering around or a bluegill or a shad fluttering around. So, and sometimes I'll take the Sharpie and I'll color that blade black just to dull it down. But sometimes, like I said, we got a lot of cloud cover, we've got a lot of wind, then I'll go ahead and I'll let that go. But, whenever the bite is really tough, I take the regular 1/4 ounce size, which is what I have here. I tie it on. I'm fishing it pretty slow, but at the same time, I'm varying my retrieve. I've got starts, I've got stops, and I'm telling you what, I've had so much success whenever that bite gets really tough. There are times when I've thought I wasn't going to catch anything. I tie this on, and the next thing you know, I'm catching a 4-pound bass. So that was really a surprise. Now, another thing that we can do is our good friend, the Texas rigged worm. You're never going to go wrong with a Texas rigged worm. Whether you've got it weightless, whether you're fishing it with a weight. I've got a 1/4 ounce weight here that's unpegged. I was fishing grass with it today. Caught a couple of nice fish on it. This is just a homemade one that I do in the brown because that's what they seem to be after right now. Nothing fancy. Those muted colors, Green pumpkin probably would work good. June bug, black blue flake, regular black, regular white. Keep those colors simple. Think in terms of hue rather than color. And you'll find that you actually have a lot more success, and you're also not going color crazy, having to have every single color. So a green, a black blue, such as June bug or something like that. A brown works good for me, and a white, something in that area. And like I said, when that water gets really tough, when that time gets really challenging, it doesn't matter if the water's low, it doesn't matter if it's pressured. You can always catch fish on a Texas rig worm. I have yet to find a day when I cannot catch at least one or two, maybe dinks, maybe tanks, but whatever, I'm catching them on a Texas rigged worm. So this is something else that I'm always having tied on because I know this is one of those that if all else fails, I can take this out and I know I can catch at least one fish. And along those same lines, obviously, is something like this, right? The good old wacky rigged worm. And this is just a black blue flake. And what I like to use the smaller hooks. This is a Gamakatsu G Finesse. Nothing fancy, right? Just tie this on weightless, or I will use a 1/16 ounce weight and turn it into a NACO rig. I'll put the nail weight in right there. If I need a little bit faster fall, that's what I'm going to be putting in there. I'll have that nail weight in. But For the most part, a wacky rig, right? If I'm fishing shallower water, if I'm fishing closer to the bank. And these techniques work whether you're on the boat or fishing from the bank. Today, I was fishing from the bank. I have not fished from the bank around the little lake in so long. I just wanted to do it. And today turned out to be the day to do it. And I'm glad that I did. I ended up catching some fish, even though it's Labor Day weekend, even though the water was pressured, and even though that lake was way down. Those conditions could not be more tough. Yet, whenever we tie on something like this, we greatly improve our chances of catching some really nice bass. And lastly, well, not everything has to be a finesse technique, right? We have this right here. And this is just a regular swim bait. I've got it on a 1/8 ounce. This is a screw lock head. And I have a Rage swimmer on here. I believe this is the 3.75 inch. And, just a shad imitating color. And nothing fancy. I'm slow rolling this. I've got this on 12-pound fluorocarbon, 7-foot medium heavy with a softer tip. This is my, my swim bait setup. I've talked about this before. And a smaller swim bait like that, just a tiny little morsel, is very hard for those bass to pass up. It's like a tiny little snack, even when those conditions are really tough. That's one of the things that, if you've noticed, I'm consistently doing whenever that condition is as tough as it can be. I'm downsizing, right? I'm downsizing to see if I can get some attention from those bass. That's why we're saying might be a dink, might be a tank. If I can get a bite on a small one and I can get a consistent, 1 or 2 fish doing that, I may upsize it. It depends on if I'm catching smaller bass or bigger bass. If I'm only catching little dinks on these, I may go a little bit bigger. I may go 4, 4 1/4, or even larger. It all depends on the conditions and what I'm fishing. But for the most part, something like this works just fine. I can get those bites on those tough days, and I can keep bringing those fish not just to the boat but to the bank as well, because it works whether you're fishing from the boat or whether you're fishing from the bank. These are the types of baits that I'm using to keep those bites coming. So there you have it. Those are what I use to get bites on those tough days. Whether the sky is cloudy, whether it's sunny, whether there's pressure, whether the lake is low, or whatever, those baits help me keep those bass coming to the boat or coming to the bank. If you notice, it's mainly just downsizing the presentation, and I'm altering the retrieve. But still, at the same time, that's what's working for me. Give it a try, and I think you'll really like the results. Thanks for watching Lowbrow Fishing. We'll catch you in the next one.